Hi, Shavua Tov. There's a common question asked of people who we meet for the first time, which when you think about the answer, all of a sudden all kinds of ideas and perspectives change. And the question is, so what do you do in life? So what do you do in life? The Torah tells us that Yitzchak loved Esav, Kitzayid befiv, because he was a hunter in his mouth, or the food that he hunted was in Yitzchak's mouth. Esav would hunt and bring back delicious food and prepare delicacies and give them to Yitzchak. And so Yitzchak loved Esav. So if you'd ask Yitzchak, tell me, what does Esav do in life? Yitzchak would say, oh, he's a hunter and a chef. Wow, he's among the best. But that's kind of strange. Why would Yitzchak, such a spiritual person who was the one who was the burnt offering that never got sacrificed, but spiritually was sacrificed on Mount Moriah, such a spiritual powerhouse, and he's taken in by material things, by such an external thing? He cooks, he hunts, he cooks, he makes great food. That's why? It's kind of strange. We need to understand a little deeper and see how Esav was tricking Yitzchak. But then you have Yaakov. Yaakov says the Torah is a simple man who dwells in tents. The tents we're talking about are the tents of Torah. Rivka loves Yaakov. If you'd ask her why, we wouldn't know. The Torah doesn't say why she loves Yaakov. It just tells us she loves Yaakov. So why? What did Yaakov do in life? Rivka wouldn't be able to, well, she would be able to perhaps tell us, but she wouldn't say he was a hunter, he was a bus driver. She wouldn't say anything like that. What would she say, and why is that so important? To answer these, let's ask a third question. The patriarchs, the first two, had sons that were great and then other sons that were not. Abraham had a Yitzchak, but he also had a Yishmael. And Yitzchak, had a Yaakov, but he also had an Esav. Only Yaakov had a perfect litter of sons. I hate that word. Had a perfect batch, any better, of 12 sons who were all tzaddikim. Yes, they had some bad things that they did, but at the end of the day, they were tzaddikim. Rav Moshe Feinstein asks, what merit did Yaakov have that he should have a completely perfect family of sons, of children, of descendants, whereas Abraham and Yitzchak, as great as they were, didn't? What's the difference? And so Rav Moshe answers, because Avraham and Yitzchak were great global figures. Avraham was out there fighting and defeating kings. If you ask the world, what did Avraham do in life? We'd tell you. He defeated the 4 kings. He liberated Sodom. He did this. He had these great actions. If you'd ask us what Yitzchak did, Yitzchak also dealt with kings, but Yitzchak, he was an Olat Mimah. He went up to Mount Moriah to allow himself to be sacrificed. He had these great, big, global things. Yaakov didn't deal with kings at all until the very end of his life. So what did Yaakov do in life? Basically, he survived. He survived challenges, and he kept going. And all the time, says Rav Moshe Feinstein, he was learning Torah and living faith and fulfilling the divine mission as he understood it. In other words, that is the eternity of the Jewish people, says Rav Moshe Feinstein. It's not the big, brassy, grandiose accomplishments, as great as they were. And for sure, Avraham and Yitzchak were as great as they come. But Yaakov had something special. And that was, he had nothing special other than the fact that he was living a daily life of struggle and Torah and mitzvot, and that is the key to our eternity, and that's why all of his sons were kosher, were tzaddikim, all of his children were righteous. Yaakov is, let's dig on this a little deeper. Yaakov is called Ish HaEmet, the man of truth. Titen Emet Yaakov, give truth to Yaakov. What exactly is this truth, and how does one live this truth? So the word emet gives us a hint in all of its letters. Aleph is the first letter of the alphabet. Mem is the middle, and Taf is the end. In other words, it is from beginning to end, it is thorough. Yaakov represents truth in that his inside and his outside were in complete agreement and harmony. He was truthful in who he presented himself as, and he was truthful in who he was internally. Unlike his brother Esav, who was a fraud and a phony. Because Esav was all about superficiality. You know, it's interesting, there was a meeting of my younger boy, who plays Little League here in Jerusalem, and they had a Zoom meeting with a retired pitcher, a retired baseball player, who was a journeyman pitcher. He didn't have a very long career, and he didn't have any very remarkable accomplishments, and as a result, people don't really know who he is. And even people who were great stars maybe 40, 50 years ago, they walk down the street, nobody really knows who they are. You have Hollywood celebrities who once upon a time were everything, but nowadays not much of nothing. I remember once seeing a singer who had had a big hit when she was 18 years old, and then I saw her when she was in her 40s. I was at some country fair, and she was singing at the outside stage at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with about 35 people watching, right? So once upon a time, people are great celebrities, and then nothing. You know why? Because that is the world of superficiality, the world of appearances, and that world is determined by what people do. If you're a sports player, what do? Are you good? If you're not good, you're off the team, and then in a few years, nobody knows who you are. They have no use for you. That is what happens when a person becomes defined by their actions, not when their actions are an outgrowth of their inner character. So in other words, Esav is exactly that. He is all actions, but no internal spirituality. And Esav puts on a show for his father of honoring my father. He's fantastic, and he puts on a show of piety. He asks his father, according to the rabbis, how do you take a tithe from salt? Salt doesn't even require one to take a tithe. And it makes sense to me that Yitzchak would then love Esav, because Yitzchak is concerned about the future of the legacy of Abraham. And he looks at his two sons, and he sees Yaakov, who's a nice boy. He's in the tent, he's studying Torah all the time, but he's not necessarily strong enough to go out in the world and defend the family and bring forward the tradition. Esav, he's a hunter, he's a fighter. And not only that, he honors his father, which means that he will honor his father and his father's legacy, and he will certainly observe it and certainly pass it on to the next generation. That's why Yitzchak loves Esav, because he's a hunter. He brings all this food in, but that also shows that he's a man of the world who will bring the traditions into the world. Such is the idea that Yitzchak has. Yitzchak is taken in by the attractiveness and the seductiveness of superficiality. We look at these Hollywood stars and these sports figures, and we're all, ooh, look at that, I got so-and-so's autograph. I have a lot of autographs when I was a kid, and I was a big Yankees fan. But where are these people today? What are they doing today? Nobody cares. Nobody knows. A few people nostalgic know, but other people don't really know. And Yitzchak, unfortunately, got sucked up into that false image that Esav gave him of being a man of great actions that can carry the traditions into the future. But Rivka understood something about Yaakov. The Torah doesn't tell us why she loved Yaakov. It just says she loved Yaakov. And the reason why is because she loved Yaakov's character. The good deeds are important. Deeds are what define us, but it's not the deeds that define us from the outside in. It's that the inside must cause the deeds. The deeds grow as a result of our character. And Yaakov, being a man of tremendous faith inside, he lived his life of struggle and accomplishment with Torah, with mitzvot, with faith, and that is the eternity of the Jewish people. So Rivka loves Yaakov because of who Yaakov was as a person. So the next time a person asks you, what do you do in life? The answer could be, I do Torah, I do mitzvot, I do good deeds, I work on my character. What do you want to be when you grow up? A pirate, a pilot, a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, whatever. That's all great. That's a parnasa. That's what you do for a living. But what do you want to be when you grow up? A mensch, a person of faith, a trustworthy person, a person of honesty and humility who has all of the good character traits of what we call a ben Torah, a son of Torah. That should be the answer to that question, and that is what makes Am Yisrael eternal. Shavua Tov.